All right, here we are with the motor and the transmission out. So, as I left off last week, the motor and the transmission was in, and we were working on the disc brake and the lowering springs. I'm still dealing with the lowering spring issue. I contacted the company, UMI, and we are still trying to figure out why the car is up. But since we're waiting on that, we got the motor and the transmission out, and now we noticed that the firewall, on the firewall for the heater core and the fan blower, that it was really rusty, and it had a huge hole in it. And as you can see, it was packed full of mouse. It stinks, it's rotten, and we need a new one. So, and also the inner one is completely shot. It stinks, that probably that mouse pee and poop and whatever from it sitting in there. It has like stained in the metal, and it stinks. So, luckily, I am in an email group for local, and it extends out to like 1,000 to 1,500 people in this group. And it's a lot of old guys in it, and it's just strictly email, no Facebook, no nothing like that. So it's kind of slower paced. And I put an ad out there that I needed a 66, 67 Chevelle heater core and heater box, and GTO cross references, and an El Camino, and I think a couple other ones. So luckily, a guy reached out to me, said he had one from a 67 GTO. And wouldn't you know it, they are identical. So this was out of a 67 GTO, and same thing. And he had the inner, so he had the outer, which this outer is like in perfect condition. He says it was from a California car, and I'm here in Wisconsin. Yeah, this thing's in super nice shape. So he also had the blower motor, which this blower motor is plastic. The one in the Chevelle was metal, but this works. He bench tested it. I'll just have to paint it up because we don't want to keep that yellow. So that's cool. And I got the inner for it. So, and they're identical. And his is in really good shape. Mine is like rusted solid, and it's bad. So all the motor door, or the flapper works, which is awesome. And guess what? I only paid $35 for this, like for everything. And he had a heater core. He says he doesn't know if the heater core worked or had a hole in it, but this thing, I mean, for how old it is, it looks like it's in pretty good shape. And I'm going to pressure test it, and then we're going to see if it holds the pressure. And I just have to clean this up a little bit, clean up some fends, and we may use it. And I don't have to buy one. So it is for the heat, which we don't use the heat too often here, but it'd be nice to have it in this car. So I'm really excited to find this locally and only pay $35. So I'm glad that he could help me out. So I did have to take out the inner fender. I took that out of there. It's in this area. It's a little, I'm not going to worry about it, because sometimes on these cars, where do you stop? Like, I didn't even want to take this fender well out, but I had to get at the access up in here for the holes. I know you can't see it very well. So, it feels like I'm kind of working backwards a little bit, but we're going to clean this up here, and I'm just going to rattle can it, which I'll probably videotape, and we can just show you how I do it just to rattle can it. I know I sprayed all this stuff with the reel gun and with epoxy and all that, but and I made the outside look nice, so we're just going to rattle can the inner, and it's going to hold up just fine. I got some really nice rattle can, and we'll go through that in another video. But my plan this week is to get all this sanded, prepped, and get the heater core painted. I'm sorry, the heater box, inner and outer painted, along with that. So that's where we are on that. And as for the core support here, I don't think I'm going to do too much with it because by the time you take all this off, it's in pretty good shape. And sometimes it's like, where do you stop on these cars? Like, this isn't a complete resto. This isn't a complete redo of the car. And the more and more you get into it, it just delays the project. And then you just open up a can of more worms. That's why I didn't take the front bumper off this car. And the grill came out. You're not supposed to take the grills out like this, but it can come out. So someone already had it out this way. There's a couple pop rivets that you have to take out that normally it doesn't come out this way. So someone already had this apart like how I have it apart. So it can be done this way, but if I take this front bumper off, then I'm going to disrupt other things, which I already broke some bolts and this and that. So sometimes it's just like, just leave it, get the car up and running, and enjoy it. Because some projects will just, you'll start on them, and then you do one thing, and then you run out of money, and then you got to do the next thing, and then it costs so much more, and then you could have just had the thing up and running if you just live with it not being 100%. So I really want to get this this car on the road on the car, within a couple months. So we're going to keep the project moving, and that's where we're at right now. So I didn't do too much this week with the car, along with Easter and other things. So, but it was kind of nice to take a break from the car, and it's sometimes nice to just mentally prepare for something else coming up. And sometimes you need that in a car when you're working on a car, is just to step away from it, get a new game plan, and maybe you'll find a deal like I did on these, and it makes you excited again to get through the parts that are going to suck, like sanding this all, masking it. Even though I already do this for a living, it's still a lot of work. So, yeah, so I'm ready to get to it this week, and this next video is going to all be painted, and we're going to have this thing put back together. So, alrighty, that sounds good. So, follow along for the next video. Thanks a lot.